we'll start with the prayers. Om Sahana Bhavato Sahanau Bhunakto Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma Viddhishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So we are doing the Saddarshanam by Ramana Maharishi, a very beautiful text which focuses on how to realize our real nature. The Upanishads tells us that we are not the body, we are not the mind, we are not the intellect. These are the three instruments which we have. They are the mediums by which we transact in the world. This was defined in Tattva Bodha itself. So if we are not the body or the mind or the intellect, then who are we? That is the question which we need to ask ourselves. If you are asking that question, then this text will make sense to you. If you don't ask that question, and then this text will be absolutely meaningless because you will not know what we are studying. So the first thing we should understand is that I am not the body, mind, or the intellect. When I say I'm not the body, a lot of things will come into the mind. If I'm not the body, that means the body is born, but I am not born. There is something else in me which is not born. This is an indirect corollary to the fact that if I am not the body and body is the thing which is born, then there is something which is very, very unique. Nobody has taught me this till today. So what is that unique thing about me which Ramana Maharishi is trying to reveal to me? This is the way we should understand the text, and that unique thing about me is called as Atma. And the body, mind, intellect is nothing else but the I notion. It's just a notion in the mind. It is not the truth about myself. The truth about myself is called as Sat Chit Ananda. So Ramana Maharishi is using two Upanishads as a background material. Number one, Taittiriya Upanishad, which says that our real nature is Sat Chit Ananda. And Chandogya Upanishad, which also says Sat is our basic nature. Sat. What is the meaning of Sat? The most important word which is used in this text called Saddarshanam. The word Sat means my real nature. Nothing else. It is all about nothing about the world. It's my nature is the first thing we should know, which comes under the meaning of Sat. The second meaning of Sat is this Sat is the Jagat Karanam. That means it is the cause of this entire universe. When I say it's a cause of the entire universe, it includes my body, mind, and intellect. So this Sat, number one, is the core of my personality. Number two, this Sat is the cause of the entire universe. Universe is an effect. Sat, pure existence, is the cause. Then only these two fundamental things we should understand when we are going deeper into the text. This text is a very, very deep text going into the intricacies of how our mind works. Very, very important text to study our mind. And each one of us can study the mind independently with the help of this knowledge. You have to study yourself. I cannot study your mind. You cannot study my mind. That is the way the creation is. Because mind is subtle body, and being subtle body, it is not visible to me, your mind. But to me, my mind is known. So, when we study this text, we should apply that verses and the meanings and apply to our own nature and analyze and see whether what Ramana Maharishi is telling us is right, wrong, or I don't know, I'm not sure. So this is purely an application science. This is purely a science of self-knowledge which has to be applied in order to see the meaning of these verses. It has to be applied to our own mind and to our own self. The entire process consists of keeping the mind separate and understanding who am I. That is how we should look at the broad vision of this text. So far we have covered 10 verses, and a very important verse is number 9. And here it says, the mind is nothing but the I notion. Very important point, important verse. And it says, mind is the I notion in the body. There are two aspects in our body. One is the ahamkara, which is called as the I notion, which is also called as the ego in English. The ego is something by which I identify with this body. It is through the mind, the connection of the body comes to me only through the mind. In sleep, I have no connection with the body because the mind has gone to sleep. I still exist as the pure Sat, pure existence, but I have no connection with the body or no connection with the entire universe. You see, so beautifully Ramana Maharishi is describing this. All of us can understand the truth which he is trying to reveal in these verses. Very, very beautifully structured verses, and they bring out the truth which is explained in the Upanishads. The same truth which we are studying in our Bhagavad Gita class on Saturday, the same truth is being revealed to us in these verses. So, if you study the two states, the waking and the sleep, the I notion becomes extremely clear. In the sleep state, I don't have the I notion. In the waking state, I have the I notion, and I keep on doing all my tasks throughout the day with the I notion in the mind. Through this I notion only, I connect myself, the soul, I am the Jiva. That Jiva principle connects with the body only with the help of I notion. Without the I notion, I am in my pure state, which is called as Sat Chit Anand. It is the same thing which is revealed by Tat Tvam Asi. There, Tat Tvam Asi, Tat, the higher principle, that Sat principle is what is being revealed here. The same principle, same, the subject I is the object of knowledge which we are learning. And then in the 10th verse, what Ramana Maharishi says is that all the spiritual exercises which we undertake, like puja, like japa, like parayana, parayana means recitation, chanting of slokas. Anything which we undertake, they're all trying to help us, this I notion to abide in the pure I, which is called as Sat. So if this is understood, we will go now, we'll proceed to verse number 11, which is what we will start today. We finished the 10th verse last week. So today we are going to study the 11th verse. All these verses are trying to reveal the pure Sat, the core of our personality. And we should apply to ourselves. This knowledge is not meant to be just heard, it has to be reflected. Shravanam is one part. So in these sessions, what we are doing is Shravanam. We are listening. But then the second thing is Mananam. Mananam means I reflect on whatever I have heard. Myself, I have to do this. And then the third step is Nididhyasana. Nididhyasana means after getting this knowledge, after reflecting on this knowledge becomes clear to me. Then I have to drop the notion that I am not the body, I am not the mind. And then automatically when I say body and mind, I am not, the world also gets dropped. Drop means what? It gets negated. It is negated in our intellect. It is not negated externally for perception. Perception will still go on of the world. But with the knowledge which we get, what we will do is cognitively, we will be able to say that I am the truth, the Sat which Ramana Maharishi is revealing. So in this verse, Dvandani Sarvanya Khilat Triputayaha, what he is trying to tell us is the entire Triputi which we experience in the world, which we experience ourselves, is made up of Dvandvani. Dvandvani means pairs of opposite. So whatever we experience is Dvaitam. Dvaitam means it's duality. I, the body, am experiencing the world. And in the world, what I see mainly is triads or pairs of opposites. What are the pairs of opposites? The pairs of opposites, I will explain to you, is Dukkham and Sukham, positive and negative, joy, sorrow, heat, cold. Heat and cold is at the body level. Success, failure, emotions, these are emotions at the mind level. Profit, loss is also in emotion at the mind level. Birth, death of the physical body. Honor, dishonor, this is at the intellectual level. somebody hurts me, praises me. These are all at the intellectual level. These are called as pairs of opposites. So when I look at the what is being searched, means when I look at the I principle, these pairs of opposites, they get dropped. So once they get dropped, then the truth gets revealed. That is what Ramana Maharshi wants to say in this verse. What he says is that the world consists of pairs of opposites, or it also consists of triputi. Before going into triputi, I will just, I've used the word yin and yang. A lot of Chinese friends who are listening to this, they will understand this more. But for those who are not, I want to show you a small video here. I took it up from the YouTube. What does this yin and yang mean?
The concept of yin-yang was first found in the Book of Changes, dating back to about 700 BC. Back then,
I'm sorry, I'll just play it again.
The concept of yin-yang was first found in the Book of Changes, dating back to about 700 BC. Back then, it was a combination of broken and unbroken lines, but today, we all know it as this symbol. While almost everybody recognizes this as a yin-yang symbol, most people don't really know what it stands for, and that it's a theory in Chinese medicine. So let's start with the basic explanation. These are the Chinese yin-yang characters. The first character can be divided in two separate characters, with one representing a hill and the other representing a cloud. The second character represents the sun and its rays of light. Thus, both characters combined represent the idea of a hill, with yin being the shady side and yang being the sunny side. And that's where the light and dark color in the symbol come from. Now, let's explore this idea a little further. If the shady side is yin and the sunny side is yang, then nighttime must be yin and daytime must be yang. Rest is yin, activity is yang, the moon is yin, the sun is yang, and so on. In fact, everything in life can be brought down to yin or yang. Although yin and yang are opposites, they also transform into each other, which is reflected in the well-known symbol. Night will always become day, winter will always become summer, and activity is always followed by rest. Now, put in a Chinese medicine perspective, one can say that every philosophical process and every symptom or sign can be brought back to this yin-yang theory. And all diseases and treatment strategies will boil down to one of these four. Either someone has a lack of yin or yang energy, and thus yin or yang should be tonified, or someone has too much yin or yang energy, in which case the excess should be eliminated. One can say, without yin-yang, there is no Chinese medicine. So understanding this theory and applying it in practice is therefore of supreme importance.
So now, just this gives us a simple idea of pairs of opposites. So all these pairs of opposites is experienced by us throughout the day. It's not a moment when we don't experience this. This is just a concept which Ramana Maharishi is trying to point out. The second thing which he is trying to say is that this Atma, this is a Adharam, is a support for Triputi. Now, what do you mean by Triputi? Triputi means the subject I, which is the Ahamkara, then the object and the instrument. Suppose there is a chair. I want to move the chair nearer to me. I am the subject. I'm trying to move the chair to, I shift the chair, and then on that I put a pen, an instrument. Now, the seer is what is called as the subject. I am the seer of the world. The seen is the object. It can be a chair, it can be a mountain, it can be my own body, it can be my own mind, it can be any object in creation. And there is a process by which seeing is going on. Seeing means the interaction between the subject I, the seer, and the seen. The seer becomes the knower, because when I use my mind, thoughts are generated. When thoughts are generated about the object, I become the knower of the thoughts. So, knower, known, knowing. Speaker, spoken, speaking. Writer, written, and writing. Thinker, thinking, and thought. So all this means it is connected with the I notion. In sleep, there is no subject, object, or instrument because the I notion is dropped. Without the experience of I notion, there is no pair or triad. There are no pairs of opposites. There is no ignorance, and there is no knowledge. There is no objects in sleep. Therefore, there is no process of knowing. So the root of I notion is Sat, vision of the truth. It's the root of the I notion. It is not the I notion. The I notion is the Ahamkara. When I try to understand this I notion, then Ramana Maharshi will teach us how to do this inquiry more deeper. But when I go to the root of this I notion, what I discover is my real nature. Bhagavad Gita in the 4th chapter talks of the same principle. Idrichhalava santushtaha dvandvatito vimatsaraha samo siddhana siddhaucha kritvapi na nibhadyate. What does it say? It says that a jnani is a person who is contented with whatever comes in his life, which means he is free from the pairs of opposites. Just now we saw whether it is joy or sorrow, honor or dishonor, profit or loss, success or failure. A jnani is a person. Jnani means what? A wise man or a wise person. So this verse teaches us that we should remain equanimous to both joy and sorrow which comes to us. The coming of joy and sorrow is not in our hands. This should be very, very clear. But I can remain balanced. And through this study, I will know how to remain balanced. That's all. You see, all our study is not to stop the flow of the joy and sorrow coming in our lives. Our aim should be very clear. I am studying Bhagavad Gita, I am studying the Saddarshanam in order to face the pairs of opposites, experiences when they come in my life. I know how to face them. I never fall down from my core Atma principle. I am the pure consciousness awareness principle, Achyuta. Achyuta means I never fall down. Once we have this knowledge of Sat or the pure self, which is the non-moving substratum, it is the pure being. Once I know this, the spiritual being, the pure awareness principle, which is what I am, the mind's wavering will reduce. It is this knowledge which reduces the number of thoughts in our mind. The mind is philosophically called as Ahamkara. The I notion is called as ahamkara. And what is this whole cosmos which we experience? It is nothing else but one nirguna, formless consciousness principle, and we name that cosmos as Brahman philosophically. The entity is only one. All what we are learning is about this one consciousness existence principle. Our whole study is to understand this one principle, that's all. The moment I am able to understand this principle, then the whole vision changes about the universe and about myself. Universe consists of the substratum and the triputi. What is the substratum? The substratum is called as Brahman, or it is called as Aham. In Bhagavad Gita, the 20th verse of the 10th chapter, Lord Krishna tells us that he is the Aham, the I, the pure consciousness I in every body. So the light of consciousness is there in you, is there in me, is there in all the human beings. Therefore, there is only one substratum. It cannot be experienced, but it can be known. It can be known through the scriptures. The I which gives us that knowledge is called as the scriptural wisdom. That chakshu, divya chakshu, they call it the spiritual eye. EYE, the spiritual eye. And it is also called as the subject. When this subject, the knowledge of this one principle is called as the real knowledge. All other knowledge which we have about the world, about our professions, about the field of medicine, about the field of law, all that other knowledge is secondary knowledge. It's about the objects, but the real knowledge is about me, the subject. And this is also called as Jagat Adhishtanam. And this vichara of this Adhishtanam, the substratum, is the aim of all the students. And finally, what it will do? It will negate the Dvaitam, which is called as Mithya Triputi. Mithya means appearance. That means our entire waking state experience is an appearance. It is like a movie on the screen of consciousness. This Mithya Adhyasa or Ahamkara is the Triputi. Triputi means the I notion which gets divided as the subject, object, and the instrument. The eyes are seeing the world. The eye is the instrument. The world is the object. I am the subject, ahamkara, the I notion. So the I, the pure consciousness, gets divided in the waking state into these three. And in the sleep state, what happens? The pramata, the knower, I notion, it resolves. When the I notion resolves, then the objects also resolve, then the process also gets resolved. This whole triputi is what is called as the rope snake in the rope snake example. So what they are saying is, don't try to analyze the world too much. Why am I suffering? Why did I have this sorrow yesterday morning or today morning? Forget about it. It came and it went off. That's all. Do you remember the sorrows which you had 5 years ago, 8 years ago? It's all gone. So similarly, the sorrow, suppose somebody is angry with me today or yesterday, it will go away. It happened. I don't know the cause for it, but it will go away. It just went off. That's all. And tomorrow I'll be okay. I'll be happy. Joy and sorrow, happiness, sadness, this is the fact of this world. Dvandam, that means these pairs of opposites is what is the definition of the world. There is no continuous joy, there is no continuous sorrow. It comes, it goes. It's a cycle. So don't try to inquire too much into the cycle, but try to inquire into the who is the substratum. Who is that consciousness principle? What is that consciousness principle which is becoming aware of this? And how does it become aware of this? It becomes aware only when the mind is awake. When the mind is not awake, and the mind is connected to the physical body. So the physical body and the mind, they are having the three states of consciousness. But this pure Sat or pure consciousness principle, I don't have the three states. I am always the same state, Nityaha. I don't change, Nirvikaraha. We have seen all these words. So what is born out of Atma Ajnanam? That means if I don't know this Atma, what gets born? What gets born is nothing else but ignorance. What gets born is called as ahamkara, the I notion. This I notion is born out of the ignorance of what? Ignorance of Atma. That pure consciousness I, it can exist by itself. If I know that, then this I notion, it loses its power to give sorrow to me. So the rope snake is born out of rope ignorance. The whole I notion is born out of the ignorance of the pure I, which is called as Sat. So Atma is like the rope and the Ahamkara is like the rope snake. The rope snake is like the duality or the triputi or the world which we experience. It appears, it's experienced on the Atma, which is the Adhishtanam, which is the substratum. I will be using this word Adhishtanam very often because that is the way in which the Upanishads, they reveal this Atma. And how do I understand this Adhishtanam? I understand Adhishtanam as follows. For the dreamer, the waker is the Adhishtanam. The waker is the mind consciousness principle, which has got the mind, that is the Adhishtanam for the dreamer. Or we can say the ignorance of sleep is the Adhishtanam, which leads to dream. I exist in sleep, but I forget my nature of that I am sleeping and I project in my mind. The ignorance of Atma is the cause for the experiences of waking. So the mind is projecting all the experiences. This is the world. See, our concept of the world will change once you have this knowledge of Atma. It will change. The pattern of our thinking will change. Because once we know Atma, which is the Adhishtanam, which is the substratum, which is the pure Sat, then the mind will not play so much of tantrums on us. It will reduce the delusion about the world. So what we have to do is, we have to use the Veda Vakya, that means the sentences which reveal the truth about myself. I have to use that as a pramanam. Pramanam means what? It is a source of knowledge. source of knowledge about my core nature. So that is what we have studied in this verse. How to do the inquiry of the nature of opposites? Ramana Maharishi explains in the next verse, which is verse number 12. Vidya katham bhati nachet vidya. If there is no ignorance, how does this knowledge shine? So now he is going into the depth of ignorance. What is the knowledge and what is ignorance, and what is the substratum of knowledge and ignorance? And you know, he will say the substratum is the Sat, on which both are coming: ignorance of the world, knowledge of the world. Without the knowledge, does ignorance shine? So he is asking, he is getting into the depth. He is making us think about the knowledge of the world, about the knowledge of the body, of the knowledge of the mind, and ignorance of the world, ignorance of the mind, ignorance of the body. I have to do this inquiry in order to abide in the original nature. Because from that Sat, ignorance also comes, knowledge also comes. Now let us try to analyze how it comes and how it goes. So first what we have to do is, we have to understand who has the knowledge or who has this ignorance. Obviously, it is the I notion, the ahamkara, the ego. Knowledge and ignorance are relative. With reference to ignorant only, we can say a person is wise. Suppose I say I know Japanese language. That means with reference to Japanese language, I was ignorant before, now I'll become wise. Now, who is the I who is saying I was ignorant? It is the I notion. It is not the aham, the which are pure sat, because that is always nirvikara, that doesn't change. It is always pure consciousness. It is just a revealing principle of the mind. It is the mind which is now linked to this body, which is saying, I know Japanese language, I don't know Japanese language. I must first know that I am ignorant of who I am, then only I will seek the knowledge. That means the I notion is extremely important. That I is born and it goes into unmanifest condition. It comes into manifest in waking, it goes to unmanifest in sleep. The I notion. Therefore, what? Both ignorance and knowledge are limitless and beginningless principles. Ignorance is beginningless. How long was I? How long did I have the ignorance of Japanese language or Sanskrit language? Beginningless. I can't say from which time onwards. From birth. Is it from birth? No, because this mind was there in the previous birth also. So in the previous birth also, I was ignorant. So it's is beginningless. But knowledge has an end. Knowledge also has a beginning. From now, I know Japanese language. Therefore, knowledge has an end. Ignorance is beginningless, and it ends in knowledge. So ignorance and knowledge both are relative to the I notion. If there is no I notion, there is no knowledge or ignorance. So the knowledge thought will negate the ignorance thought. That's all. The same thing was seen by us in the last text which we took, Atma Bodha, in which it said that always remember that action cannot destroy ignorance. Karma, doing action, is not going to make any difference to knowledge or ignorance. but it is knowledge, that is jnanam, which is opposed to ajnanam. That is, light can destroy darkness and nothing else can destroy. This we have seen in Atma Vada also, that I can, I can keep on doing a lot of karma at my house, but if the only thing which can remove darkness in my room is a light, a switch. I bring a lamp. Only that can remove the darkness. Any other amount of other actions which I do will be useless. So similarly, in the question, in the case of Atma Jnanam, in order to understand this I notion, I have to bring in the knowledge of the I, the pure consciousness on which this I notion is resting. Knowledge and ignorance are both thoughts in the mind and are related to the objects of the world. So the I notion is the one which is responsible for both knowledge and also ignorance. And knowledge and ignorance, whenever we say with reference to the ahamkara, it means it is the knowledge of objects only, objects in the world. That means I have knowledge of what is in front of me. I don't know what is behind me. So I am ignorant of objects behind me. I am knowledgeable of, because they are perceivable. So they are relative concepts and they are interdependent. And the questions what we need to really ask is, from where do these thoughts arise? Knowledge thought, where does it arise from? To whom does thoughts belong? Who supports these thoughts? Where do these thoughts merge? In sleep, where does these thoughts? I had so many thoughts during my waking state. I had thoughts about the world, about the business, about the people, about the emotions. I had so much of knowledge in the waking state. But in sleep state, what happens? All this knowledge where does it go? Where does it merge? It merges in the Sat. It merges in the I, the real I. And from there only again, tomorrow morning when I get up, the whole becomes manifest again. So indirectly what we are saying is the world is manifestation, unmanifestation of the mind. This is what we are trying to arrive at. Inquiry leads to pure knowledge of the pure self. Inquiry of the ahamkara leads to the ahamkara is not a pure knowledge. Ahamkara is a relative knowledge. We are trying to understand this I notion. Through the I notion, I come to know of certain ignorance about objects of the world, knowledge of the objects of the world. Now, both this knowledge and ignorance of the objects of the world, they are relative and they belong to the I notion in this body. But the I notion itself goes away. So like the external darkness can be removed by light, the internal darkness of who I am, because when the thoughts are resolved, that is where I want to ask the question, who am I? In the waking state, if I keep asking the question, the only answer I will get is, I am the body. Because the body is in front of me. It is an object of awareness. So the internal darkness, which is what is called as Maya or Avidya or sleep, the sleep state is what is called as the internal darkness. Internal darkness, why is it called internal darkness? Because it has got to do with the mind. The mind is covering Atma. The mind wields Atma. It has got a wielding power. That is the power of the 5 elements which constitute our mind. The 5 elements have this power, this Shakti, to cover my real nature which is pure consciousness. This internal darkness is a very, very big subject of the study in Vedanta. Very, very deep studies are conducted on this internal darkness, which is called as tamas. The nature of one of the gunas of the five elements is tamas. Sattva is knowledge, rajas is activity, tamas is darkness. The same thing is what we say is blankness. I experience blankness in sleep. It is nothing else but the guna of tamas, of the five elements, of which constitutes the mind. Vishnu Sahasranam chanting prepares the mind to receive the knowledge of Mahavakyam, which gives the knowledge of Brahma Jnana. What is the Mahavakyam? Mahavakyam is Tattvamasi. You are that. Aham Brahmasmi. I am that pure consciousness or the pure Sat. With relative knowledge in the waking state, through the sense organs only, I can arrive at duality. Duality means what? The body, mind, world, all this constitute the Triputi. The Triputi gives us the vision of duality. Whereas the truth is what? Non-dual Advaitam. One alone exists. Vijnanam means what? Vijnanam means the knowledge of Atma, which is also called as Para Prakriti in chapter 7 of Bhagavad Gita. Jnana Vijnana Yoga. So any knowledge referring to Sat principle, the pure consciousness principle, my own core personality, that is called as Paramarthikam. Paramarthikam means it is not relative, it is not absolute, it is Paramarthikam. So Atma is Paramarthikam, absolute Jnanam, beyond which there is nothing. Whereas the Jagrata Avastha or the dream is relative. That is called as Jnanam. So one is Vijnanam, another is Jnanam. Any Jnanam means it has got to do with the knowledge of the world, Triputi. But what exists beyond this knowledge of the world is the knowledge of Atma. So in the relative field, there are pairs of opposites. And these pairs of opposites are called as mithya because they are just appearances in one of the states in which I experience. I will get the Saddarshanam only when I go through the three states and find out who am I. We cannot analyze only the waking state and only the waking experiences to arrive at the truth principle. So what Ramana Maharshi is saying is, suppose you are living in the sun, you will not know what is the day or night. Living on the earth, you will know what is day and night. That means with the ahamkara notion, I will have knowledge, I will have ignorance. But once I have the Atma Jnanam, which is like living in the sun, that means I am all the time available as pure light. The pure Atma, once I get that Adhishtanam knowledge, I will have the knowledge I am there all the time. Whether there is waking state of the mind, whether there is a passive state of the mind, whether it is a semi-passive state of the mind, I am that pure Sat principle, that consciousness principle. I always exist. I am the substratum throughout, and I don't change. I, the consciousness, never change. The mind changes. The mind changes because it has got the three states. And then because of the mind only, ahamkara has got thoughts of knowledge, of ignorance. In sleep, there is ignorance. In waking, there is knowledge. So knowledge and ignorance are relative factors depending on the I notion of the mind. See how beautifully Ramana Maharshi is taking the truth, is explaining to us through the analysis of our own mind how we can reach the core of our personality in these 40 verses. Every verse goes deeper and deeper, deeper and deeper. You will find that the depth increases as we go in the other verses forward. So the next verse now, the 13th verse, here he asks a very beautiful question. He's saying, can there be true knowledge when the knower does not know himself? Suppose you don't know who you are. Can the person have any knowledge which we can call it as the truthful knowledge? And he says, actually, the answer is no. You will not know what is the truth. If you have the knowledge of the world and you don't know yourself, who am I? It is no use. It's better to know who I am at first and then take the knowledge of the world. The one who knows oneself as the spiritual being, pure spiritual being, which is the support of the knowledge principle, then for him or her, this duality is just an appearance. It will come, it will go. But for a layman who does not know this knowledge, he will be struggling in life because he will not know the mind. It's a mind which is playing all the tricks. And the truth of the mind is the I, which is the pure consciousness, the pure being. See, in all this spiritual study, we are trying to understand that pure spiritual being, which is our real nature. Any verse you take in Bhagavad Gita or Saddarshanam or any text which we do, all of us in all these verses are trying to understand that core of us in different ways. So here he is again going back to the Tripoti. How to inquire into this ahamkara, the I notion? Because the moment the I notion comes, in the morning when you wake up, the I notion is the first thing which we realize. The moment I say I immediately am linked to the body, which is the knower. Then it becomes the knower. I am the knower, the subject, the ahamkara. And then I start getting connected with the thoughts in my mind, vrittis. And the vrittis, they come from the objects. Suppose I get up in the morning, I look at the clock. The clock shows 5 o'clock in the morning. So the clock is giving rise to thoughts in the mind. Perception leads to thoughts. Thoughts are the objects. And then the process of the knowing starts. Knowing means the subject I interacts with the object, and whenever this interaction happens between the subject and object, that process is called as knowing. And that process is always with thoughts. So the knower, known and knowing, Tripoti is the what we call it as an experience of the ego I. When the three are in coordination, knowledge takes place. That means when my eye sees the clock, eyes get the knowledge that it is 5 o'clock in the morning. This is how the knowledge takes place. And in this plane, we take ourselves as human beings. Whenever this knowledge during the waking state happens, we call ourselves human beings. But in the sleep state, when we are resting, we are spiritual beings. We are no longer human beings, we are spiritual beings. We are pure consciousness, pure existence principle. When we are human beings, we say, yes, the world is real. The world means the entire objects, the world of objects. The knower, known, knowing has the support of the Adhishtanam. This Adhishtanam is called as Brahman, the real entity. So again, we are going back from the process of Triputi. We are saying that the Triputi can exist only if there is a substratum. Triputi is an appearance. Like rope snake, it is an appearance. Like rope snake should have a rope as the Adhishtanam, this Triputi of waker with the instrument knowing the waking world should have the Adhishtanam, that Adhishtanam is the Atma. When the knower, when there is nothing to be known as in sleep, the known, knowership and the knower, they end. The Triputi ends. When the Triputi ends, what reveals itself is called as the I, the pure I. What Ramana Maharishi is saying is, this I, when the mind resolves in sleep, this I is the real I, which is the Saddarshanam. I have the vision about myself, because this is self-evident. The pure consciousness, the pure existence reveals itself as pure being, the spiritual being. This knowledge comes to us only in the waking state. We cannot get this knowledge in the sleep state. We cannot get this knowledge in the dream state. The knowledge happens in the waking state of who we are in our real nature. That real nature is a changeless nature. It is always in the same form. Suppose if that was always in the same form, and if I come to know that that is what is my real nature, that is called as the Jnana Nishtha. Jnana Nishtha means, first of all, I get the knowledge of that Sat, of that pure being. And then what I hold on? I hold on to that as my real nature throughout the waking state. This becomes the transformation knowledge. That knowledge which I get of the Sat, of the pure Atma, I try to retain that throughout my waking state at the back of my mind. When that happens, the world stops disturbing us. We will realize this. The frequency at which I used to get perturbed, disturbed before, that frequency will drop. It only drops because of the cognitive change I bring about in myself, in the intellect. This is a pure intellectual knowledge. It comes by way of hearing the Shastras, hearing the Bhagavad Gita repeatedly. When I hear repeatedly, these thoughts strike my mind. The old thoughts about this, I am the body, I am the mind, I am the intellect, I am this, I am rich, I am poor, I am sad, I am joyful, all this will reduce the impact. That impact gets reduction only when I hear again and again this knowledge of Atma, and my mind churns inside. It learns to contemplate, it learns to think properly. When the mind contemplates again on the Atma principle, then only that Nishtha comes, then only that abidance comes. Then only I can say that I am knowledgeable person. So with reference to this entire waking state, what happens? This Atma is putting on a vesha. It is putting on a dress. So whenever I see this physical body, immediately I should come to realize this is a dress I am wearing in order to undergo transactions today. This is the knowledge I should have. This is a dress. The physical body is a dress. The I notion is a dress. That I notion in this physical body is called as the ahamkara. This ahamkara, I will go through the joys and sorrows of today's transactions, good or bad or indifferent. I had a good day, I had a bad day, I didn't have a good or a bad, it was a mixed day. It was just they just passed, that's all. So this, how was the day for you? If you say yes, good or bad, you're referring to the thoughts which you had during the day. You had good thoughts, you will say that the day was good. You had some troubling, disturbing thoughts, you fought with somebody or somebody fought with you, there were some thoughts which agitated you, you will say, yeah, I had a bad day. But now with this knowledge, what will you say? You will say, this mind is a dress for me, the Atma. I am the Atma, immortal Atma, changeless Atma. We should use the 3-4 Sanskrit names of Atma which we have learned in Tattva Bodha, in other lessons so far. We have learned 4 or 5 terms. I'll just tell you again. Number 1, Atma is Satyaha. It is always there. It is independently existing. Whereas the world of the body and mind is just comes, appears, disappears. It's called as Mithya. Then we say Atma is Nirgunaha. There is no guna. Whereas the world, body, mind, everything has got gunas. Because Prakriti itself has got guna. Prakriti means nature. And body, mind, everything, the world is all the products of the 3 gunas only. So even you can never say that I had a fantastic day because the gunas of the Prakritis are changing. So that is why the second factor, I'm just digressing a little bit just to again give you the knowledge of Atma. Now, Atma is Satyaha, Nirvikaraha, Nirgunaha, Nityaha. Nitya means is always changeless. It is not affected by time. So I should keep these 3-4 things in my mind, and and one of the names of Atma is Om. Immediately chant Om. When you chant Om, immediately the meaning of that Om should strike you. I am that pure consciousness, which is the substratum of the 3 states, the waking, dream, and sleep. From where these 3 are coming, that is called as Om. Om is like a code name. It's a code name for Atma. The moment you remember Atma is codified as Om, immediately you should, and Om means it is a substratum from where the 3 states of the mind is coming and going, coming and going, coming and going. It comes in this birth, again the mind will take another birth, again another body, again this will come. But the moment I know that I am that Om principle, immediately I know I am the substratum, and you will find that you will quieten down your mind. Remember the nature of Om as the substratum of pure, which is of the nature of pure consciousness, in which all this drama is happening. So the waker is not the dreamer or the knower of dream. The waker, if you know, there are 2 different fields of experiences, 2 different levels. The waker, he is a substratum for the dreamer and the dream world, but he does not become the dreamer. He remains as the waker Similarly, Atma is a substratum for the waker, but it remains as the waker. It remains as Atma. It does not change when the mind becomes the waker. And the mind, together with that Atma, knows the world. Mind by itself cannot know the world. The sense organs by itself cannot know the world. The physical body by itself cannot know the world. It is the consciousness, the pure consciousness, which is shining in the mind, and the mind then gives the power to the sense organs to reveal the universe. So, jnata, jneyam, jnanam, knower, known, and the knowledge, this triputi goes away into the substratum consciousness. Whenever this triputi is gone, as in the sleep state, what remains is the pure Atma. That is why I keep saying that in the sleep state, through this knowledge, I come to know that I am that pure consciousness, pure Sat principle. It is easy for me to realize my nature. The substratum is easy for me to realize when I compare the waking and the sleep state. And when I get the knowledge in the waking state, my mind is got that shine of consciousness, and I see the external world. In the sleep state, the mind loses that shine of consciousness, but consciousness is still there. It is only the mind in which the world comes and goes. I am that pure consciousness substract. Very, very beautifully, it's been explained to us. These verses are they give us this knowledge of the self very, very clearly, very directly, and which you cannot get so easily through Upanishadic knowledge. See, Upanishads will tell us Atma is nirgunaha. It will tell you all the characteristics of Atma, but in these type of text, we come to know how to realize that Atma in us. Like I said, all this knowledge, we have to put it into our own analysis. When we do that, I give you guarantee that you will know what the mind is, and you will know any time the mind is causing trouble for you, you will become aware. You will become, oh, this is the mind which is troubling. You cannot change the mind. You cannot change the world. You cannot change the body. Only thing which we can change is my perceptions. I can become aware that I am that pure consciousness. So inquiry is on the subject, which is the Atma. We don't waste time in analyzing the world. So don't try to, at any time when we are suffering in life, don't try to ask too many questions. Why am I suffering? Why this is happening to me? Why this? You will never get an end to any answer. Because body is going through prarabdha. It is going through a law of karma. It is affected by time. At a particular time, a certain event will happen in our life, which will give us either joy or sorrow. It can be a birth in a family, it can be death in a family. It can be good events, it can be bad events. That is why Lord Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita says, don't get elated by sukham, don't get depressed by dukkham. Equanimous. Throughout the Gita, Lord Krishna is teaching one central principle. Samatvam, samatvam, samatvam. In almost 20 to 30 verses in the Gita, you try to find out where is this samatvam being taught. You will discover many verses. Keeping a balanced mind, trying to keep, how do you keep the balanced mind? Only with the knowledge of Atma. Only when you hold on to that core, then only you can face the pangs of the mind. We all need that core. We try to find that core in the external world of objects. Like, for example, I buy a great house, a big house, or I earn a lot of money in life. I think that will give me strength. But in the relative world, whatever we think that it is the strength, it will, and we try to hold on to it. One day we will realize whether it is an object, whether it is a person, whether it is an event, whether it is a situation, that will change. The same thing I was holding on to as a strength becomes a weakness at some other time. But you hold on to Atma, it never changes. It is in you, it is always available, it is Nityaha, it is ever present. When we try to look at that Atma in us, we can do it in the bhakti way. We can say, God is in me, I will hold on to God. Or you can say, I hold on to the self in Vedanta. God in religious way, I say, I'm holding on to the Krishna who is there in me, Rama who is there in me. But when it comes to the knowledge principle, the same Rama and Krishna becomes Atma. One consciousness, one Sat principle. Ahamkara is limited I. It's limited because that I notion is limited to only one body. Your I is referring to your body, your mind. My I refers to my body, my mind. My mind is limited. I have certain knowledge. I have a lot of ignorances. So it's limited. So Ahamkara is located. Is located wherever the body is, the Ahamkara is there. And wherever the body and the mind are there, Triputi is there. Knower, known, knowing instrument is there. What about Atma? Atma is the limitless I. In the sleep state, I am the pure I. That I in the sleep state does not have any limitation. It's not limited by time because it is beyond time. Not limited by place. I cannot say I'm sleeping in Singapore because that I, pure I, has got no limitation. No place limitation, no object limitation. It is not doesn't have a reference to one particular body as such, because that is a pure substratum. So Nidra state means sleep state. It is a thoughtless state. It is the blank state of mind. So in the daytime also, if I'm meditating, I'm trying, if I get a blank state of mind, it is the same thing like the sleep state of mind. Only thing is, in the waking state, if I get a lot of people come and tell me, when I close my eyes, I just see a blank state. I tell them, congratulations, well done, because you are trying to bring the same state of sleep state into waking state, but you are aware of the blank state. So when you're aware of the blank state, the awarer is different than what is being aware. Object is always different than the subject. Subject of object can never be the same. That blank state in sleep is called as ignorance, avidya. And that pure state of consciousness is called as the Brahman state, the Sat principle, the pure awareness. Without any objects, without time, without place, without objects. That is what we call it. We generally refer to that and say, Aham Brahmasmi. I am that thoughtless state. I am that pure spiritual being. Even though thought may be there of Aham Brahmasmi, when I say Aham Brahmasmi, I'm referring to that pure Sat. So this thought leads me to my real core nature. Therefore, it is called as Mahavakyam. And that is the subject which is grasping the entire universe of objects, the knowledge of the objects. That subject is infinite. It is limitless. That pure state is immortal. It never changed. It's been there for time immemorial. It's been there in every birth of the body, in every wherever the body is there. That principle is there. That's pure consciousness, pure principle that is always there wherever you see it. Whether you are seeing an ant running, that principle by which the ant is moving is the same consciousness principle. If I am walking, I am seeing somebody else walking, running, seeing, singing, speaking, talking, it is because of that consciousness principle. I'm only seeing one consciousness principle. If you are listening to me, I know that you are that consciousness principle. You are listening and I am talking. You will say, he is talking, I am listening. We are the same one consciousness principle. That pure consciousness is Purnam, is complete, is always full. Purnam means full. It never lacks anything. And it is Swayam Prakasha Chaitanyam. Swayam Prakasha means it shines by itself as in the sleep state. Suppose the Atma was not there, then we would have just been only blank and we would have not even known that we exist. The one which is aware of the blankness, if it was not there, then what would have happened? We would not know our nature. It would have been permanently been hidden. But because it is there, that witness Sakshi is there, that consciousness is there, there is knowledge of that Sakshi. So what Ramana Maharishi is saying is, when dualities or the triads end, there seems to be a void. It is that reality which is called as Sat. It's very, very beautiful, these verses. Think, contemplate on this knowledge. I give you guarantee that you will reach your core of the personality. After you have reached that core, bring that memory of this knowledge of the core Satchit principle again and again on a daily basis, and you will, over a period of time, have what is called as Jnana Nishtha. First time when we listen, all of us will be able to understand what the teaching is. But this teaching doesn't stay for too long, because again the mind is lashing us with thoughts. So many thoughts of the world, thoughts of the joys and sorrows, they come and lash, they come and hit us again and again. And this knowledge again goes away. Again, we have to bring back this knowledge through study. But when the mind learns to do this a few times, then it gets settled in that knowledge of pure consciousness. Verse number 14 is an important verse. It's a slightly long verse. Anyway, I will start I have another 10 minutes. I will start the meaning, but maybe I may not be able to finish it today. Here, what Ramana Maharishi is saying, he is trying to differentiate what is perception of objects and what is the true knowledge of awareness. He's trying to, you see, in all these verses, you will find that, he's again and again trying to teach us what is awareness, what is not awareness, what is knowledge of the world, what is knowledge of the self, what is knowledge of the world, what is knowledge of the self. That is again and again he's playing with words, but again the object is, you can see the goal. He is telling us, he's driving us to the goal of pure Sat. Sleep is not knowledge. Nidra na vidyaha. Grahanam na vidyaha. Perception is not knowledge. Grahati kinchana yathartha bhode. What it means is, in the knowledge, one does not hold to anything. And the true knowledge is other than the sleep and the perception of objects. It is awareness alone, which is shining and not a void. Again, he is trying to tell us that the sleep state is not blankness. It is not nothingness. There is one philosophy which says it is shunya, non-existence. There is one philosophy which says that the sleep state is non-existence. They are called as shunyavadas. But what we are saying is, it is not shunyam, it is not non-existence, it is awareness of non-existence of objects of the world. Awareness is still there because there is remembrance of the non-existent world. In sleep, we all experience that the world is not there. And then when we wake up, we say, I slept in which the world was not there. I remember, I recollect in my waking state, my sleep state condition, where I experienced blankness. Experiencer was there, experienced blankness was there. The same experiencer is continuing in the waking state and is saying that blankness was an object of experience in sleep. So this verse is going into the depth of the sleep state analysis. First thing we should know about the sleep is, it is not knowledge, it is ignorance. It is ignorance means what? There is an experience of a vritti, a thought of ignorance, which is called as avidya vritti. That is what is sleep state. Perception of objects. In the waking state, we all perceive the objects. Our body is an object, our mind is an object, the world is an object. Three objects are there. Now, what Swami Ramana Maharishi is saying is, knowledge is perception of objects. It is called as vidya vritti. So there are two types of vritti. One is vidya vritti, another is avidya vritti. Avidya vritti is what? I don't know anything. I am ignorant of the whole world. It is called as avidya vritti. Vritti, it's a thought. I know the world, I know my body, I know the world. This is vidya vritti. This is called as perception. And what is true knowledge? True knowledge, Ramana Maharishi says, is it is not sleep or it is neither perception. Perception is always through the sense organs. Sleep is always through the mind, but knowledge means awareness, consciousness, Sat principle, Saddarshanam. So the true knowledge is Saddarshanam. Perceptive knowledge is through the sense organs, is Vidya Vritti. It is a Vritti, it's a thought in the mind. Sleep is Avidya Vritti, which is also a thought in the mind. Both these are thoughts, but what is knowledge is awareness. Yoga Sutra, Patanjali Yoga Sutra, it says in one of the sutras, sutra means it's like a verse. Sleep is a state of semi-consciousness where dreams come and go. Very beautiful definition of sleep. What is sleep state? It is a state of semi-consciousness where dreams come and go. That means I'm aware. I'm aware with what? Dreams. I'm aware that there are no dreams. That's all. That is what is called as sleep state. I'm aware dreams come. I'm aware dreams are not there. When dreams are not there, it is also called as sleep. When dreams come, also it is called as sleep. Very good definition. Dream is objects are projected in the form of vrittis, stored impressions. Whereas waking is what? Objects perceived in vritti form. Experiences are there, direct experiences are there. They are not stored experiences, but they are only appearances like the dream. So if you see the dream and waking, you will find the same descriptions being there. Objects are projected in the form of vritti in the dream. Objects are perceived in the form of vritti in the waking. The only difference is perception versus projection. What do we call as perception in waking? When the sense organs are active. When the sense organs are not active, when they are passive, then we call it as a projection of the mind. And both are experienced, both are an appearance, and both are unreal. Very important factor. Mandukya Upanishad compares the dream and waking. They say waking is also another form of dream where the sense organs are open. When the sense organs are closed, we call it a dream. When the sense organs are open, we call it waking. That's all. The difference are in the Mandukya Upanishad, they clearly have no difference between the waking and dream. They say both are the same state. And both are unreal. Unreal means what? They're transactions. They have the power to give us joy and sorrow, which is useful for the prarabdha to get exhausted. The knower I consciousness remains unknown in three states: waking, dream, and sleep. And that knowledge, what we get, is through these texts. I will stop here. I'll continue this particular slide next week. Slide number 64. I will continue next week. And we'll continue this verse. And you can see that every session, we are going very, very, very deep into our mind. Not only going deep into the mind, we are also getting the knowledge of Atma becomes more and more clear as we go through these verses. These 44 verses are brilliant verses to know the mind itself, to realize the mind itself, and at the same time understand what is behind the mind, which is our true nature. Let's stop here. We'll continue next week. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnahat Purnamudachade Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnameva Vasishyade. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. There are some questions here. There are, Amyanshu says that there are shortage of words to explain Atma or Brahman or the isness. Once this isness is clearly understood through these studies and becoming Adhikari, almost 50% job is done. And balance may be achieved by the Shastra and leading a sattvic life to remain aware about the isness in all transactions in our daily life. Yes, Amyanshu, you are right, perfectly understood. The more we understand the pure Sat and this isness principle, then it is only a question of leading our life. Throughout our life, we are able to remain in this only because of the knowledge of the scriptures. The scriptures are the eye. I use that eye of the knowledge and then I lead my life. This is called as Didya Chakshu. I have got the spiritual eye, and with this eye, I can face any calamity, any sorrow in life. That is the beauty of this knowledge. Akshay says, as it is rightly said, although knowing nature of Atman, mind pulls into ignorance, how to establish in Atman forever? Very good question. This is the question for everybody. The straight answer, unfortunately, Akshay, is that it can be done only through the knowledge of Atma. The more we get this Atma, listen more and more. That is why they say repeated Shravanam. Again and again, listening to Atma will establish ourselves in Atma. That is the only way out of this ignorance of the mind. Till this, see, we are always fighting a battle with our mind. And the only thing which we can save in us in this battle is our real nature. The more we come to know about this Atma and I am able to hold on, you will find that the mind loses its power. It will come. The more you will listen, the more you will, after 1 year of listening, you will say, I've changed. I know people who have been listening to me for 7, 8 years now, and they say they have transformed. There is a huge transformation in their thinking. They have been able to reduce their thoughts. They're able to change their thoughts. They're able to understand and face life better. Shravanam is hearing, Mananam is contemplation, Nididhyasana is application in real life. All three are important. Yes, you've got the whole process very clear. The word Dvandam, move from sad to happiness. Yes, is it a move? It's a move between opposites. Yes, you're right, Chitra, it is correct. It's a move from sadness to happiness. It is a move from joy to sorrow. It's a move from success to failure.
Right.
These are just thoughts.
Thoughts.
Yes, they're all thoughts.
Right.
Whenever you feel sorrow, immediately you should say, this is my mind. I am facing a sorrowful mind. It is a thought. Become aware, and immediately you will find that you are at peace. Because immediately you will say, it is a thought. I can distance myself away from my mind, and I can be myself as pure consciousness.
So the mind is the controlling factor.
Yes, the mind is the controlling factor for sadness or happiness.
Okay.
I am only a witness to this mind's thoughts up and down going. And why do these sad and happy thoughts come to me? The only answer is this is law of karma. It's a law of karma which is controlling the entire physical body, the subtle body, and the causal body. There is a law. I am a witness to that law. I am a witness, Sakshi. That is the knowledge which the scriptures are telling us. Be a witness, lead the life, whether it is physical problems, mental agonies, mental happiness, whatever it comes, just be equanimous. Samatvam, be equanimous. Again and again, Bhagavad Gita talks about only one virtue to cultivate in life. Just be, for the opposites when they come, just remain balanced. Remain balanced, then you can overcome any sorrow in life.
Okay. Okay.
And always remember that the sorrow is not permanent. It is just a moving phase. Again, tomorrow morning you will wake up, you will find there is a change.
Right.
What was very sorrowful is not continuing. Now today I am balanced again. Again, the sorrow has gone. Again, a balance has come.
Right. So we pull ourselves back and watch ourselves from
Yes, that's correct. Again and again, pull ourselves back from that I notion, come to aham, the pure consciousness. Again and again, pull back. Again and again, pull back. That is what Bhagavad Gita says. That chanchalam hi mana Krishna. In the 6th chapter, Lord Krishna is teaching Arjuna that your mind is chanchalam. It will be having ups and downs.
Right.
And again, through abhyasa, through practice, and through vairagyam, you control.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Rohit is asking, the closing statement, consciousness I, remains unknown in the 3 states. Yes, it remains unknown for a person, for a layman. But for a person with the spiritual knowledge, it becomes known. Consciousness becomes known only for a person with knowledge, with the knowledge of the scriptures. So it remains unknown for a layman. Yeah, Shama, what do you want?
Thank you, Shekhuji. My one question is, even for this deliberate spiritual practice of repeatedly reaffirming the anatmanatma principle,
Yeah.
even for this, are we still bound by our prarabdha karma in terms of how successful we are or not successful? Because this alone is the cause of the vishada, because you're aware of it.
No, the cause of sorrow is the law of karma. The knowledge, whether we will get knowledge, whether we'll get as per the prarabdha, that's not true. The knowledge of joy and sorrow is law of karma. But knowledge you have got of Atma is independent. It is your punya papam, your punyam has given you the knowledge. That's it. It is not going to change.
But in terms of like the ability to constantly remain in this practice of, so it's not every day is not the same, isn't it? Like there are days when you can so beautifully concentrate and be in that, you can see from your meditation, which actually lets you know.
Yeah.
But on other days, you're not, without any other external influence.
Yeah, the only fact we should learn is that my mind is always troubled by 3 gunas. Sattva, Rajas, Tamas, Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. This one point you remember.
Yeah.
You remember that my mind is having the 3 gunas and I am not a part of the 3 gunas. I am nirguna. So the moment you catch hold of that unchanging I, then what happens is, then you will be able to understand the vagaries of your mind as something separate from you.
I'm glad you mentioned this, because what is amazing is how this sattva guna, which is obviously the values which over the years you have accumulated as being virtuous,
Yeah.
of doing good, about serving. So
Yeah.
that in itself is a conflict in the mind. You know, you're doing good versus doing your meditation, for example.
Yes.
So that is a dvanda, internal dvanda.
Yes, that's correct. You see, for example, it's a good question. Should I sit in meditation, or shall I go and do some sattvic karma?
Correct, correct.
You know, whether I should go and help somebody, or shall I just sit in meditation and think about myself?
Correct.
The
Yeah,
Shastra,
absolutely.
in this aspect, the Shastra is very clear.
Yes.
Shastra says you do meditation because that is knowledge for you. You have taken birth, that is your prime goal in life.
Okay.
So don't try to say, compare that. Don't feel guilty that I am sitting in meditation and not helping somebody. This is also will help in the long term someone.
Will this go away after some time? Because this samskara is very
this will not
strong.
go. This knowledge of Atma, this will never go.
No, this compelling samskara, because that's what
Yeah.
you have valued in your past,
Yes.
of doing good to others or
Yes.
helping others.
Yeah.
Will this eventually, this compulsion go?
This compulsion, according to law of prarabdha, will go.
Okay.
It is a passing phase. It will go, because
Okay.
any karma, any karma you're doing is a result of past action.
Okay.
So it's because it's a result, it is an effect.
Okay.
So there is a cause, there is an effect. There's a cause, there is an effect.
Okay.
Whereas Atma is beyond cause and effect.
Correct. Yeah.
That is what the beauty is.
Yes.
Bhagavad Gita or the Upanishads are teaching us something which is beyond cause and effect, which is beyond time.
Right.
Time affects karma. At a particular time, there will be somebody in front of you asking for some treatment.
Yes. Yes.
Why it came suddenly today, but it was not there 2 years ago? Karma.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Okay.
my
That's
karma.
what
That's it. It's
This is
my
what I
karma
was.
phalam.
Yeah. This is what I was.
I have to treat this person today.
Yeah.
Let me
Yeah,
take care of him to the best of my ability.
Okay. Thank you. Thank
Okay.
you very much.
This statement is with reference to point of 3 stays.
That was just a comment to the, I mean, the question to
so
the
I
above.
have answered your question, right?
Yes, you have.
Okay, Akshay says, sometimes we think we are the subject to the whims and fancies, but it is not true. Yeah, all of us have been blessed with the ability to control the mind. Yes, we realize we are free to control the mind rather than be controlled by it. Yes, the knowledge helps you. Akshay, the knowledge of Atma helps you to understand that you have the free will to hold on to that knowledge of Atma.
Yes, yes.
That is
So,
what you should learn. The free will has been given to you, given to all of us, to know that I am not the mind, but I am the Atma. And I have the ability. I have the ability to identify myself with the body. I have the ability to drop this identification and live as pure being. This knowledge is very important. Till this knowledge comes to us, we will always be pulled back. The prarabdha will hit us left and right. You know, one day suddenly something will happen. One day suddenly there'll be some chaos at home. There'll be some family problems. Be ready for all the problems. That's what Atma Jnana will tell you. Problems will always be there as long as you are living in this relative world of waking. In sleep, there are no problems. And that is also you. You cannot say that, that is not me. That means you are having experience of problems. You are also having an experience of no problems. So what is the right vision? The right vision is neither of them is true. I, the seer of the problem, is the truth. I am the seer consciousness.
One
Okay.
more thing I want to add here
Yeah, Akshay.
is the actions which are compelling us, if we
Yeah.
operate in the karma yogi, what you can say, approach, means
Yeah.
we are not doing it, is just offering to Lord like that.
Yeah, that is another, that's the bhakti way. You just say that the Lord is in me, or I am just, bhakta of the Lord. Whatever is the actions I do is towards the surrender to the Lord. That is the pure karma yoga way. 100% karma yoga. The karma yogi also gets the same vairagyam as much as what a jnana yogi can get. You completely have vairagyam. You say that everything is the Lord. I'm just a trustee of this body. That's all. Whatever is has to be done, it's being done. It's an offering. So that is what Gita, I'll be talking about it in the 3rd chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. I'll be giving you the 2 ways in which you can run your life. Completely with bhakti and complete surrender to Lord, and say, Lord, you are, all my actions are yours. Whatever I do, that is one way of surrender. That is the chapter 3 introduction. It will probably come this Saturday or it will come next Saturday. I don't know. That is how you have to lead your life. It can be done.
Fine.
Okay.
Shekiji, I had one last
Yeah,
question.
go ahead.
You mentioned earlier that for the dreamer, the waker is the adhisthana. Is that correct?
Yeah, you see, you can take for the dream, you can take 2 adhishtanams. Initially, for a student, we will say that at the initial stages, we'll say that the waker is the adhishtanam for the dream. Initial stages. Till the person has done Mandukya Upanishad and everything, then we will say that ultimately Atma is the adhishtanam for all the 3 states. So this is an intermediate stage where the waker is still a waker and the dreamer. The waker knows only the dream and waking. He doesn't know the Atma. At that stage, we say that the waker is the adhishtanam for the dream world.
I see.
Okay, then later on, we will say that Atma is the adhishtanam for all the 3 states.
Right.
That is the pure consciousness, pure chit is the adhishtanam. Whereas sleep, dream, and waking are all relative. They just come and go, come and go, come and go. But what remains invariably through all the 3 states is consciousness. I am conscious of the waking world. I am conscious of the dream world. I am conscious of the avidya vritti in the sleep state. So I, the consciousness, Atma, I am never changing. See, this changeless factor, which is there, which is what the Upanishads reveal to us, is something very unique to us. You see, we all think that we are the body and we are born. And here is something which the Shastra are coming and teaching us, that whatever you think is not correct. Shastra is giving us a totally different picture. You are not born. Shastra says you are not born. You are nityaha. You are consciousness. Whereas every time we look at and we say that we are, we were born and we have a date of birth, we have a date of death. We always try to analyze all our situations and doubts with reference to the body identification. So the moment we stop this body and mind identifications, then we are completely free.
Right.
Shekiji,
Yeah, Shama.
sorry, just really, there's this trouble with the words alone. For example, and I wanted to understand it. Vidya and Jnanam. Vidya, does it refer only to the thoughts? And Jnanam is the true knowledge of Atma.
No, Vidya means Jnanam, and Vijnanam means, Vijnanam is different than, see, there's one word called as Jnanam.
Yeah.
In this particular context, Jnanam refers to the Vidya Vritti.
Right.
Perceptive knowledge is called as Vidya Vritti. That means whenever the sense organs, the 5 sense organs,
Yeah.
are getting this 5 sense objects, that vritti is called as jnanam.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, then there is something called as avidya vritti. Avidya vritti means ignorance.
Ignorance.
It is a
Sleep state.
thought, it is a thought of ignorance.
Right.
So whenever there is no objects perceptive, and which is what is the knowledge in sleep state.
Mhm.
So avidya vritti is what we are experiencing in the sleep state. In the waking state, it is vidya vritti. So you understand now vidya vritti, avidya vritti.
Correct. Yeah.
Now the third thing which Ramana Maharishi is saying is, beyond this vidya vritti and avidya vritti is atma jnanam,
Atma Jnanam. Yeah.
which
Okay.
is different than the vrittis which come and go.
Which otherwise is also referred to as Brahma Vidya.
Yes, Atma Vidya is the same as Brahma Vidya. Exactly.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So this Shabda is only a problem with the
Yeah.
Shabdas. Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Any other questions?
There is one last question on the chat, Shekharji.
Yeah, chat. Let me go back to chat. Vidya refers to waking and avidya to sleep. Yes, you're right. Vidya refers to all the vrittis of knowledge in the waking state. Avidya refers to the ignorance in sleep. But both are vrittis, both are thoughts. Chintan is asking, if Atma is only the witness consciousness, who is the doer? Doer is called as ahamkara. Ahamkara, the I notion in the body, in the mind, is the doer. Atma is the witness, doer is ahamkara. Now, the next question, if Atma is also the doer, then why does it do unpleasant things which we are seeing in the world? Atma is never the doer, Atma is always the witness. It is ahamkara which does good things or bad things. It will do good things according to the prarabdha karma. It will do bad things according to the prarabdha karma. All the evil actions done by people who do evil actions are all following the law of karma. They have done some karma in the past. They are going to enjoy the karma phalam in this world. In today, they will go and become a terrorist. They will become it's all nothing else but prarabdha karma. They have done extremely bad things. They will enjoy. They will experience the phalam, the result of their bad actions. At the same time, there are very good actions also. People do a lot of good actions in life, and they enjoy that. Purely selfless service. It's all again prarabdha karma. They have done some things good. They are enjoying. I think vasanas are cause of our actions. The cause of, yes, vasanas are the cause of our action. Vasana is nothing else but it is also another term for prarabdha karma phalam.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll close for the day and then we'll continue next week. Good night and thank you.
Shubharatri.
Yeah, good night.
Thank you, Shekharji.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night. Yeah, Venkatesh, I'm seeing you now. Suddenly you were there. Did you listen to the whole class?
No, of course, I'm very much there the whole class.
Okay, all right. Did you enjoy the class?
Yeah, it's fine. It's going well, actually.
It's very deep, right?
It's very, very deep, and a lot of words are, that's very critical, and we need to be very alert, actually.
Yes,
so
that's why the notes help a lot. You see, my notes are extremely, clear to make things clear, the verse and the meanings.
Yeah, I mean,
So is it possible to share the notes?
No, it comes to you always. It's been circulated last week also with the class notes. Did you get it or you didn't get it? Are you in the email group? Are you in the WhatsApp group?
Yeah, in the WhatsApp group.
Yeah, you see, check the WhatsApp along with the last video. We have circulated the class notes also.
Okay, fine.
It will be there. You can take a printout and keep it.
Fine. Thanks.
That's nice. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's great and wonderful.
Shreyaji, why is the ignorance of sleep called? Why is the ignorance of sleep the cause for dreams?
Because the Atma is covered. You see, suppose Atma is not covered in sleep state, you will never have dreams.
Then you are enlightened.
I see.
You are
Okay.
enlightened, you know. Suppose you know that you are Atma, the pure consciousness. You are the on which the whole substratum. That means you are like God then, you know.
Right.
See, without a vritti, suppose the whole day, I'm just giving an example. Suppose in the whole day, you are able to see the world, perceive the world, and you have no raga dvesha in your mind, no likes, no dislikes. What will be your life?
Yeah.
Suppose you have no likes and dislikes. You have nothing to do in life. You will be God. You will be called as God because you are just perceiving the world without any raga dvesha. So raga and dvesha, which is the cause of the vasanas, are expressing as likes and dislikes in our minds.
Right.
And that is what is called as the Jiva Bhava. You
Okay.
are Rohit, you have a Jiva Bhava. Shama has got another Jiva Bhava. She is in her world, in her circumstances. Your circumstances, your world is different than Venkatesh's circumstances and his world.
To some extent,
Your circumstances are determined by your prarabdha. Her circumstances determined by her prarabdha.
to some extent, don't you think raga and dvesha are helpful? Because, for example, if I say I liked Shekharji's class or I don't like Shekharji, accordingly it guides me to do certain things or not.
Yes, sure, of course.
So
Yes.
it's requirement.
Yes, it is, because everything in this world is controlled by the law of karma. One principle you should always remember: all my experiences in life are linked to to one law.
Raga and Dvesha. Yeah. If
And
there is
that
no
law
raga and Dvesha,
yeah, that law expresses as raga and dvesha. That's all. It's an expression.
if there is no raga and Dvesha, there is no life actually.
There's no life. You will be. You can call it no life. You can call it I'm like God, because I'm only perceiving the world. I'm only pure consciousness, seeing everybody suffering, everybody enjoying. Suppose
And
God
then-
exists today, how will He be? Suppose He's there next to you. Lord Vishnu is there next to you.
In the Vyavaharika life, I think it's very important because it helps me to discriminate.
Yes.
Viveka, you know, what shall I do, what shall I not do?
That's correct.
Yeah.
See, we all have the mind which has got four factors. It has got memory, it's got emotions, it's got discriminative faculty, it's got the ego factor.
Yeah.
These four faculties is what makes a difference between us and the animals.
Correct. Yeah.
And we have to use these four faculties to rise above them and see who are we.
Correct. Yeah. Absolutely brilliant. Thank you.
Dvaita is simply a life actually. Advaita is what is the final, what
Yes,
we are looking for.
Advaitam is the fact, Dvaitam is an appearance.
Dvaitam is an appearance. That is
Yes.
what is the, I mean, the terms we are using, whatever and all, but at the end of the day, that avidya, moola avidya is Dvaita.
Yes, it's also Dvaitam.
It's
Mula
also
Vidyam is also Dvaitam, it's a part of this universe only.
And is a part of the universe.
Yes. Ultimately, once you drop all this, is where your ultimate, that is the truth. Once you realize that truth, there is nothing else, that's all. Then you will be able to enjoy your peace of mind, which is what is called as Sthira Pragya.
But this Ramana Maha says, this the last verse, what is that signing the ignorance? That is a very wonderful question actually.
Yes.
That is like very, very beautifully he has put it.
That's correct. Yes.
Yeah.
No, his analysis is wonderful. It's really wonderful.
Simple and very extraordinary. Actually.
Very, very beautiful. His question and answer, his way of methodologically following this, it gives us the glimpse of our own real nature. There is no doubt that we will get our, while we are listening and analyzing, we will be able to say that is the truth.
We could see that. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll continue it next week. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Shekharji. Good night.
Thank you.
Hari Om.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.